Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a long overdue video and I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, and I'm going to do you guys the favor of making sure that everything I talk about in this video is in sections. So if you want to know anything in particular, then you can skip over to that section. So I'm going to try to do some of them in this video and in the next video if I cannot put them all into this one. But without further ado, you know what this video is about, as you can see by the title, answering all your questions about studying at the University of Glasgow and living in Glasgow. So let's get straight into it. So the first part of this video is going to be about student life, and the first question is, what is it like living in Glasgow as a student? For me, I would say that my experience has been great, has been amazing. I've not had any bad experiences. Some people have. So I'm not going to say that my experience is universal, but because this video is my video based on my own experiences, living in Glasgow is great as a student. There's loads of students, especially in the community where I live. It's more like a student community because it's close to the university. So it is fun, it is interactive. You get to meet a lot of people from all walks of life and every single country, because Glasgow in itself is really diverse, and you will definitely enjoy your time in Glasgow. If you have any doubts, just know that it would be a great time living in Glasgow. Glasgow is one of those places where people don't actually come here with the intention of living there, but when they actually move there, they see, oh, it's actually a nice place to be, and then they remain there. So Glasgow has gained most of its international presence, or I would say international residents, from tourism. The weather is not the best, but everything else makes up for the weather. The second question is, how diverse is the student community at the University of Glasgow? I've made a video talking about diversity at the university. There is a community for most countries. So there's the Indian society, there's the Nigerian society, Ghanaian society, there's the Caribbean society, there's the Filipino society, Indonesian, Malaysian. I do know that they have most communities. I don't think they have every single country community, but they have a lot of them. And I've also talked about in my videos about how my course was really diverse and mostly international students. I would say a good 85% was international students. So the university is really diverse. So if you have any worries about being the only black person on your course, I don't think you might be the only black person. There'll probably be another black person, and even if there isn't another black person, there would definitely be another person of color on your course. That's just how diverse the University of Glasgow is and how Glasgow is in general. So the third question is, what kind of social or cultural activities are available for students? So I do know that the international student community do a welcome thing. So where you come, if you have family, you bring your family, bring your kids, and they have a fun time. They also do trips and stuff just to help the international students settle in more. And for cultural activities, the Nigerian society, because I'm Nigerian, so I know about the Nigerian society. So Nigerian society organize events where there's food, Nigerian food. They recently done a Christmas party or end of the year party. They also do Independence Day celebrations. They do welcome events. So there are loads of cultural events that you could do. The student bodies, they organize events that you could also go to. The third question, I kind of have answered this question because it says, are there any student clubs or societies specifically for international students? So as I've said, if you're an international student, then you should definitely join your country community, because that is where you would find people from your country, people with similar experiences as you. And there are also other clubs and societies that you can join. If it's more academic, you could join the medicine community or the mycology. Is it mycology? See, there's a group that I used to join, or I joined at a point where we used to go about picking mushrooms. So any fungi, if you if you have any interest, you just think about that there is a community, and also you could form your own club and society. If you have, I think it's 3 or 4 people willing to join, you can actually go to the university and say you want to make your own club, and they will let you make your own club. But there are also other societies. There's also Taylor Swift Society, there's the Shrek Society. So if it's more fun, if you want to be more academic, there's loads that you can join, and you can check this through the Student Representative Council, I think. So the SRC is what we call them at the university, and they have loads of like clubs and societies that you can join once you're registered as a student. The 5th is, what is the cost of living like in Glasgow? So I've made videos about this, 2 videos specifically, one about when you're a student and the other one after you've graduated as a student. So do check those videos out. But I think that the cost of living in Glasgow is expensive, but I wouldn't say it's as expensive as maybe Edinburgh or London. So it's still it's still an average, you know, it's still average. It's not too bad and it's not cheap. It's just in the middle. What's the accommodation situation like, and how do I apply for student accommodation? So for student accommodation, made videos about this as well, but I'm just going to give a short rundown. Make sure that you watch my other videos, because some of these questions I have actually answered them in previous videos. And if you can hear like any sound, it's the wind, because it's really, really windy today for some reason. So for student accommodation, there is the university accommodation that you can book on the university's website, and then there's other forms of student accommodations from private companies. And there's Amber Students. They do loads of like advertisement on YouTube and stuff, so you can check them out. There's Amber Student, there is Unite Students, there's University Leaving. I'll put the links, as many links as I can, I'll put them in the description box. But these are the forms of student accommodation that you can get. You can also decide to go private, where you apply just like a normal flat through a landlord, and then you can pay for that. The only difference is that most of this housing will be without bills, so your bills will be a separate charge. But most of like student accommodation, the bills will be included in like your rent or whatever you pay for the month. That's what it is. But if you're living in a flat, then you have to pay separate for your bills and separate for your rent. Last question for this category is, how safe is Glasgow for international students? Personally, I would say that it is safe, and this is because I don't really go out at night, so I don't know how safe it is at nighttime. I have been out like at night in like the city center, but the city center is always busy, so there's always people around. But I don't know how safe it is in like, you know, like the really, really, I wouldn't say really, really bad areas, but there's some places that people would tell you that like you should really be careful about this place, especially if you are an international student, if you're an immigrant, just because you're not really sure. But if you're closer to like the city center, or you're closer to the West End, I think these places are relatively safe, because these are the spaces that I've been in and they've been quite safe for me, and I've not had any bad experiences from my friend group and people that I know. So on to the next section, and this is visas. So how do I apply for a student visa? On the UK government website, first you need to get an offer from the University of Glasgow, then you need to pay a deposit, then you need to get a CAS, which is a confirmation of acceptance of studies. When you get this, then you can apply for a visa, and you do this on the UK government website. You can do this on your own, you can pay someone to do it for you, but it's a straightforward process and you should be able to apply for your visa on your own. The next question is, what is the process of getting a CAS from the university? So this CAS is, I already said what it is, so it's a confirmation of acceptance of studies, and it essentially just like that number that they give to you, that they've told, say, the Home Office that, well, they've accepted to sponsor your student visa, because it has to be a recognized sponsor. So you use that number and apply to like the Home Office, and you don't really do anything big to get a CAS. You just need to, once you've got your offer, then they tell you this is the deadline for you to pay a deposit. Once you've paid your deposit, if a deposit is required, because some courses don't require deposit, and then they send you a CAS. But if a deposit is required, you pay that deposit and then they send you a CAS. They also give you a deadline for you to use that CAS. So the fact that they've given you a CAS does not mean that that CAS cannot expire. So if you've not used that CAS before the date that they've told you, then that CAS is expired. Because I recently came across a situation where someone got a CAS and they did not apply for the visa until the CAS expired, and they were like, oh, is it possible to get this reinstated? Which I was like, I don't think that's possible. So that is basically the process of getting a CAS number. The next question is, are there any post-study work opportunities for international students? So yes, there are loads. If you are conversant with the UK job market though, it is very competitive. It is really tight. The job market is brutal. So you need to really have your A game or be on your A game when you're applying for jobs. But there are post-study work opportunities. I've been able to get a job, my friends have been able to get jobs, but like, just because you've got all this experience does not mean that you would get the job, because there are many people with experiences. There are people here who've got experiences, there are people who come from other countries, they've got experiences, they've got degrees. So it's a tight job market, but yes, there are job opportunities. The next question is, can I work part-time while studying, and what are the restrictions? So yes, you can work part-time if that's what you choose, and the restriction is just that you cannot work more than 20 hours a week as a student during term time. This will all be on your BRP or visa. So they give you the condition of your visa, so you cannot disobey this. You have to work only 20 hours a week during term time. If it's holiday time, you can work more than 20 hours. You can work 40 hours, 50 hours. But as long as it's term time and you're going to university at the same time, only 20 hours. So please do not exceed that. What should I do if my visa application gets delayed or rejected? Okay, so if it gets rejected, I don't know about this, because I've not really had anyone reach out to me about this. But if it gets rejected, then I would imagine that there's an option to appeal the decision. So you can appeal that decision or reapply, which is why it's really important that you apply for a visa. Any visa related, you need to apply like months in advance, so that if it gets rejected, if it gets delayed, there's that time to appeal or there's that time to reapply. If it gets delayed though, then you need to contact the university, especially if like you are close to the last entry date, because this is what happens when you get your visa. No, not when you get your visa, but once you've confirmed that you are going to be studying, you've paid your deposit and stuff, the university is going to tell you a date that you have to be in the UK by. So a date that you need to register by, and then a date that if you're not in the UK by that date, then that means you don't plan to study anymore. So if by any chance your visa has got delayed and it's getting to this date, you need to contact the university. Don't just sit down and be like, oh, like you would come in whenever. It doesn't really work that way, because it's not going to happen. So make sure that you are contacting the university if any of these situations, even if it gets rejected, also contact them. They might be able to help you and tell you what next step to take. The next section is scholarships, and first question on this is, what scholarships are available for international students at the University of Glasgow? So the University of Glasgow does its own internal scholarships, and then there's external scholarships. So there's the Commonwealth, there's Chevening, then there's internal ones like the Academic Excellence, there's the Chancellor's Award, and there's all of these opportunities. And on the university's website, so if you go to university, just search University of Glasgow scholarships, there's a page that's going to come up, and that page you put in your details, your country, what course, if you're self-funded, yada yada yada, and it gives you all the scholarship opportunities for your course and for your country. So you filter that by all your details and it tells you which ones that you'll be eligible for, and then you can apply for those scholarships. The next one is, how competitive are the scholarships and how can I increase my chances of being awarded one? So honestly, the internal scholarships, they are competitive because obviously any scholarship itself is competitive. Even when you get your like results back or your decision back, they were like, this was really competitive and stuff. But the internal ones, the way that you can improve your chances or increase your chances of actually getting one is applying early. If you apply early, there's a greater chance that you would get one than if you applied later and then just have a good personal statement, because most of the internal scholarships, you don't have any separate application. Your application to study is the application for the scholarship as well. So you need to put into like that personal statement that you do need a scholarship, and like say why it is you need a scholarship, and that would improve your chances of getting one. But they are competitive, so yeah. So are there any financial aid options apart from scholarships? I genuinely don't know, but as an international student or as an immigrant generally, on your visa, if you're in a student visa, you have like restrictions on any benefits that you can get. So apart from scholarships, I do not think we can get any other financial aid, but the best person to ask that question would be the university, because there might be financial aid options for international students and I just didn't know about it. But yeah, apart from scholarships, I'm not really sure. The last question in this category is, can I pay my tuition fees in installment? So yes, the good thing about the University of Glasgow is that even though it is really expensive to study there, they allow you to pay your tuition fee in about 8 or 7 installments, but this is like monthly installments. The only way though that you can register to pay by installments is after you've actually registered your courses. So, and you do need to do this. You cannot just pay by installment. If not, automatically they would expect the next payments in the next few months. But if you've registered your courses, there's an option for you to also register for, it's called a manual payment plan. So instead of paying like half and half, or you pay your deposit and then you pay the rest of your tuition, they let you pay in 8-month installments. So that is actually possible. The next section is life as an international student. What support does the university offer to help international students settle in? So I think the most help you would get is from your university community, because there you have people who have similar experiences as you. But the university itself do support international students. They do lots like writing classes when you come in. They also do events that you could attend just to help you see how the country is. Mainly though, as I said, the most support you would get is from your country community. Then you just need to join the WhatsApp group. There you can ask questions. You can ask people like, oh, who does nails, who does hair, like where can I buy this, where can I buy that. Actually, they even send you like a list of like grocery shops where you can buy Nigerian food, where you can do your hair, where you can cut your hair, especially when you're quite new, because like obviously when you're quite new, all you want to eat is Nigerian food because you're not used to the food yet. So make sure that you're joining your country community. Next question is, how do I deal with culture shock or homesickness? So for the culture shock, I would say that we should recognize that every culture is different. Not all culture is the same. Like in Nigeria, for example, don't call people by their first name. Here you call people by their first names. I think we should learn to separate culture. So our culture is our culture. The culture here is the culture here. For homesickness, I would say dealing with homesickness is just keeping in touch with your loved ones back home. Just always like phone them at least weekly. Always let them know what's going on with you. Just keep in touch. And eat stuff that is familiar to you, especially the first few months. Go to Nigerian shops. eat Nigerian food. It might not taste the same because you might not get every single ingredient, but hopefully you're a few months in and you did bring loads of like food stuff. Go through pictures, remember stuff that you done with your loved ones, your family, from when you were there. Yeah, but mostly I would just say keep in touch with your loved ones. So are there any events or orientations specifically for international students? Yes, the international student community do organize these orientations, as I've said before, so check them out. And you can also come with your family. They organize one specifically for people that have families as well. Next question is, what is the best way to make friends and connect with other students? So on my course, they tried to help us though in the first few weeks, where they would like say, like, see where you're sat, then you would tell the next person, or make a group of 5 people sat next to you, tell them 5 things about yourself, then stand up, go to another group and tell them 5 things about yourself, then go to another group, tell them 5 things about yourself. So at the end of that day, you would have heard at least 4 people tell you 5 things about themselves. So they did try to help us do that. But a good way it would be approachable and friendly, and also the only way you could connect with people is actually speaking to them. It is easier said than done, and I know this for a fact because I'm not great either at like speaking to people. I'm very introverted. I can speak to the camera fine, but like speaking to actually people, I'm like ooh. But speak to people, connect with them. A good way to connect is to share experiences, share your culture, embrace your own culture. Don't just take your own culture as the standard. That's the only one you know, and that's the only one they know. So everyone will think, oh, my culture is superior, my way of living is superior. It's not. It's only superior to you because that's the only one you know. So do embrace other people's culture, share things with them, share things about yourself. Obviously, don't tell them every single thing about yourself, but just connect with people. The last question in this category is, do international students face any challenges adjusting to the academics in the UK? Well, I did, and a lot of people did. A lot of people didn't, but it also depends heavily on your background. What's your background like? Is it more theoretical? Is it more practical? Studying the UK is very practical, so if you have a practical background, you'll be fine. If you've had experience in writing to the UK standard, you'll be fine. If you've not had any experience writing to the UK standard, it might be a bit difficult, but the good thing is they have these classes and these courses that help you, especially in academics and most especially in writing, because the writing style here in the UK is quite different from Nigeria or India or any other like country. But they do help, and nobody's going to force you though to go to these courses. So you do have to register for them, you have to attend, you have to take notes, and you have to implement the things that they've taught you into your writing and your academics. Another good thing as well is that you can specifically speak to your professor or speak to your lecturer saying, I'm finding it difficult, how can I get help? And they'll help you as much as they can. So you can definitely do that as well if you're finding it difficult to adjusting, or if you think that you find it difficult to adjust. So seek for help, ask for help whenever you think that you do need help. Next question is, what's the teaching style like at the University of Glasgow? It's very practical. So it is theoretical the first semester. This is for a master's program, obviously, because that's what I studied. So for a master's program, the first semester is very like theoretical. Then you do a bit of like lab stuff, and then second and third semester it is like practical. So it's hands-on. It's about what you can do. Then you have in your third semester, which is a project or a dissertation from some courses it is specifically just a project, and then other courses it might be either a project or dissertation, and that's left for you to choose. But teaching style is very hands-on and practical, so you also do need to do a bit of reading yourself. So the lecturer is not going to teach you every single thing. They're going to give you notes and then they're going to ask you to expand on them. So you also have to do a bit of reading on your own. You don't have to depend on everything that they teach you in class. Next question is, are there opportunities for internships or research projects during my studies? So this depends on if you're doing an undergraduate course. So for undergraduate courses, some of them have like an option for internship and others don't. But I do think if you're doing an undergraduate course, there's more opportunity for you to do an internship, because most internships anyway would want you to be in maybe a third year or fourth year or just recently graduated from undergrad. And for research projects, I would assume that this person is asking if, say, you're a master's student. So you would do a research project in your third semester, and this is part of your degree. But if you mean like a research project alongside your degree that's not part of it, I don't really know about that. But the best person to ask will be your course supervisor. The next question is, how do I get help if I'm struggling with coursework? So like I just said again previously, you can absolutely speak to your professor and say that you don't like your grades, you don't like how like your grades are looking. How can they help you? And they would direct you to any department to go to, or like any senior to speak to, maybe a PhD student. You can get a tutor. So like if you need help or you're struggling with your coursework, you can speak to your professor. Or even if you don't want to speak to a professor, you can speak to your course mates, you can speak to a PhD student, because they are usually PhD tutors that like volunteer. They get paid, but it's like voluntary, so they teach maybe undergraduate students or postgraduate students, so they are there to help you. So all you need to do is actually ask that you do need help, and you get help. Are there resources for improving my English if it's not my first language? Yes, so there are English courses that you can take alongside your degree. So if English is not your first language and you want to improve your English, then you can definitely take those courses. I never really had to, but I do believe that if it's something that you really wanted to do, you just need to speak to the right people and you'll be able to find a tutor or just courses that you can take. Okay, so 2 last questions. When you get an offer, what's the deadline from paying your offer fee? And do you get to know the scholarship you have before the deadline to pay the offer fee? So I'm pretty sure I explained this, but I'm just going to explain again, just for this. So yes, when you get an offer and you've decided that you want to apply for a scholarship, you just need to let the university know that you've applied for a scholarship. They ask you to pay a deposit. If, for example, you're applying for like a full-on scholarship, that means a scholarship that's going to pay your tuition fee, your accommodation maybe, you will need to inform the university that you've applied for this scholarship. But the reason why I say you need to inform them is that yes, they would know that you've applied for a scholarship, but sometimes there might be a glitch and they might say, oh, you've not paid your deposit, so we're withdrawing your offer. This has happened to somebody that like reached out to me. However, it's an easy fix because this is not on you. This is the fault of the university, because you've applied for a scholarship and you would need to wait for the scholarship decision to get to you before you pay said deposit. The other way is you pay your deposit, and when you get the scholarship, you will get a refund of your deposit. So that's 2 ways that you can go about it. Either you pay the deposit, you get a refund, or you wait until you get the decision and then decide if you actually do want to study and pay the deposit after that. And the final question, if you get a scholarship for full tuition and stipend, will you still need a bank statement? No. So if you get a scholarship from the university, they would give you essentially saying that they're your sponsor. So the bank statement is essentially just saying you've got the funds to take care of yourself. But if the university itself is doing all that for you, then you would not need a bank statement. But make sure that you're cross-checking this. Don't just take my advice. Don't take my advice as the gospel. Make sure that you're also doing your own research. You're checking the UK government website. You're checking with the university, and you're checking by yourself that the information that you think is true is actually true. Don't just be naive and say, well, Pastor said it, so it's true. Don't do that. But yeah, I hope that with this video, I've been able to clear some doubts and I've been able to answer all your burning questions about studying at the University of Glasgow. If by any chance there's any question that I've actually missed, then you can pop that in the comment section and I'll answer that for you guys. If you actually watched till the end, if you watched to this part, then put in the comment section #TeamUofG, because you are an OG. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.